Good evening, everybody. My name is Miss Reed, the founder of DaaamnDaddy.com, and I just want to welcome you to the discussion room. This evening, I have the privilege of speaking to motivational speaker and poet Life Speaks Life about his relationship with his father and the man he calls his Godilogical father. Being that it's National Mentoring Month, I'm going to focus a little bit more on that relationship because that gentleman was a mentor to him who then became his father. Life is from South Carolina, and from now I'm going to let him introduce himself. How you doing this evening?
Peace. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well.
So greatly appreciate y'all having me on the call. Very excited about what's about to happen, especially speaking on something that's very instrumental to my life. So it's always good to be able to come, be open, honest, and vulnerable if necessary. So thank you for having me on the platform.
Thank you for agreeing. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a member of the Circle of Greatness Academy, and Life was one of the speakers there where we have our weekly calls months ago. And I just went on a whim and asked if he would agree to this months in advance. Hey, would you like to be my speaker for January? Because I really liked what he had to say about his experience, about being a mentor himself in the whole village-minded movement. So I'm really excited for tonight's call, and I hope that you all are excited to be joining us. The first thing I'd like you to do is talk a little bit about, you mentioned on IG Live one time that your dad, your biological dad, gave you nothing but a shot. Can you share a little bit more about what you mean by that?
So my biological father, a lot of times we get wrapped up in my father wasn't there, and it's a truthful statement, and it's a hurt, it's a pain, it's a void that's always in your life. And as I grew older, there were certain resentments that started to grow until I met my actual pops, not my biological father, but my Godilogical father. And what I realized as things progressed and we got older, I made it my point to go see him. The things that were around him and the people that grew up around him, my values and their values are so different. And as I was driving away, I'm thinking to myself, wow, like he wasn't there. He didn't do all of the father things. He wasn't there to take care of. He didn't throw a ball with me and none of that. But the one thing that I can always appreciate, and it's literal and it's figuratively speaking, that he gave me a shot. With him giving me the one shot because he could have aborted, could have put me in a condom, or he could have threw me away. And I hope that's not vulgar, but I'm just being open and honest. He could have did anything, but in that moment, he decided to give me that shot. And what that taught me in life was I look at all the things that I've accomplished in life without him being there. And that teaches me if somebody at least gives me a shot, I know I can make it. I don't need a lot, just give me a shot and I can work out the rest. So in that moment from my father, I learned that thing. I don't require much, just a shot.
I can identify with that on a few levels, but I like the way you worded that in a opportunity mindset as opposed to being deprived of his relationship or his presence. He gave me something, as opposed to, dwelling on what you didn't have from him and just using that as your inspiration to keep going on strong. My next question was, have you ever met your biological father, and how old were you when that relationship, ended or was no longer a physical presence?
Oh, well, my mother lived with him until I was 3, but it was really so foggy, I couldn't really remember those days. I might have seen him twice during life. He came to my graduation. After graduation, my mother never raised me to hate him. He came to my graduation, and then we stayed together for 3 days, and then I went immediately into the Marine Corps 6 days after graduation, and I saw him off and on at funerals. I strive to make that bond, to explain to him as a man, I'm not asking you for anything. What I need us to do is establish a bond, because down the road, as you get older, I need you to know that I'm going to be there if you need me. So what happens is, through his lack of being there and him feeling like I was holding a grudge that I really don't hold, I just wasn't raised that way. I don't have a grudge for him. I really appreciate the shot. I've done well with my life with him out, without him being there. So it was times that I'd go to DC and try to see him, and it would still be like being a kid sitting by the door. He'd say, we're going to meet at this restaurant. Hours pass, lunchtime pass, brunch time pass, dinner comes, the restaurant is closing. So he still does the same things he did when I was little. So that situation that he's dealing with himself on still exists.
What does that?
So maybe in like 5 to
Does that feel the same for you as an adult experiencing that extended wait period and they don't show up as it did as a child?
I think at this point in my life, I feel sorry for him more so than me. Because if I keep carrying that baggage, I'm never going to get to where I'm going. And the blessing of having Pops in my life, if he was dead and Pops wouldn't have been there, then I wouldn't be who I am. There's certain values and principles that I stand on and that I've learned to move with as a man, but that came from Pops and not my dad. So with that, it was a freeing experience watching the siblings that did grow up around him or the ones that did know him prior to me. I'm liberated from all of that because I faced it head on. I explained to him I harbor no grudges. And if anytime you need me, you have a spot at my house. If anytime something goes wrong with your health, I'll be there. If anytime something goes bad in life, I'm going to be there. So as far as me being a man, I'm liberated from that. But there was a small stench. Like, I'm not emotionless all the way. There was a small stench. Like, wow, like, what is it? And then I realized that issue is not mine to hold. That issue is his to hold. I'm there. He's not there. That's something he has to deal with.
So you mentioned your pops, who you refer to as your gynecological father, correct?
Sure did.
So how old were you and how did you meet Pops? How old were you when you met him and how did you meet
Oh,
him?
man. So I was in the 10th grade. This guy comes to my high school. He's like Joe Clark when he comes through. At this point, I was kicked off of everything that I could be a part of. And then here comes this guy, slender man, Marine Corps uniform, Marine Corps ROTC. I was told to go into ROTC just in case I wanted to do something else. But my friends went. I wasn't a football star, none of that stuff. So in there, I could drill. Like, it was cool. Like, I was like, all right, cool. We can do this exhibition thing. I got kicked off a team because I was running with a different crowd of people. Something happened. I didn't say it wasn't me, but I couldn't say who it was. So I took the charge and I got kicked off the team. Anyway, the next year, the 10th grade year, this guy walks in, slender build, like Major Payne for real. Like, if you could take Major Payne and put him in a school and mix him with Joe Clark, this was this guy. He walked into school and he looks at me. He says, I know your parents. And I'm looking at him. I was like, how do you know my parents? At this point in my life, my mother kicked me out of the house because she could afford everybody and sent me to live with my grandmother, who was 70 plus years old. And for a rambunctious young man in high school, she only cared if I dropped her off at bingo with no license, and the rest of the time I'm to my devices with a car and I'm moving around. So he grabs me and says, I know your parents, son. You back on the drill team. I'm like, the drill team losing anyway. And he would snap. It wasn't like small things. At this point, I was running with who I was running with. And I can remember one day he grabbed me by my scruff. And he's like, he put me in front of the class. He grabs me like this. If you ever been snatched up by your scruff, this is I'm kind of hanging there like a pit bull puppy. And he goes, look at him. This is what you will not look like. If he didn't brush his hair, he didn't wash his face. If he didn't wash his face, he didn't brush his teeth. If he didn't brush his teeth, he didn't wash his hind parts. And he didn't say hind parts. This is what you will not look like when you come to school. This is my hello to this guy. 10th grade, this guy is snatching me up, ROTC instructor. And that was our hello.
Okay. So, well, I imagine that was a beneficial relationship if you still carried it out this far. There's so many gems there.
Hindsight is just funny.
What'd you say?
Oh, yeah. He's, definitely. At the time, I didn't understand it at all. At the time, I didn't. I mean, so much so, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But I mean, it was regular stuff that other people could do. He would walk by me and just start screaming in the hallway, son, the S on Superman's chest does not stand for stupid. I'm looking like, what are you doing? But he stayed on top of me, and then he put me in charge of a losing team. And I'm like, he's like, I don't care what you do, you better win. And I'm like, yo, your team ain't never won. Like, the team was so bad when they was giving out participation trophies, they would forget to bring ours. Like, we were a bad team. Like, we forgot. We'll mail it to you. Because we didn't win anything. Like, it was a bad team. And I'm looking at it, and from what he was telling me, this metaphor came. He's like, yo, don't tell me the baby ugly. Tell me what you're going to do with the ugly baby. I don't care. You just win. By the time I was going into my senior year, we were third in the country with the best team in the country. In that moment, when I got older, those principles that he was teaching me about the way that I appeared in front of people, my presentation happens before my presentation. If people see me like that, they're already going to write the narrative about me. Oh, he stink, he doesn't wash, he's probably a drug head, leave him alone, stay away. The S on Superman's chest does not stand for stupid. Well, you're not going to be great in life if you're walking around stupid and dumb. So you got to put something in here. Not just in here, you got to put it in here. Don't tell me the baby ugly. Tell me what you're going to do with the ugly baby. So throughout my life, I look at ugly situations like my father. I'm like, we're here now. Like, we're in the situation now. I can't cry about this baby being ugly. My thing is, what am I going to do to capitalize with this ugly baby? Because once the baby's out, you can't put it back. Put a bib on it, stick the edges down, dax the hair, and let's go. You know, put a nice outfit on it and make it happen. But I don't want to hear that your times are hard. I need you to get through it. So these principles he was teaching me in small metaphors and dosages. So the relationship wasn't beautiful in the beginning. With age, my hindsight became 20/20. I'll say it that way.
Okay. Well, with that being said, and all of the principles that you shared that he instilled in you, can you tell me what Godilogical father means and how you came up with that term?
So God in his infinite wisdom, he a lot of people didn't know at that time when he came into my life, I was kicked off the team. There was nothing that I had else. I was enticed by the life. I was enticed by being in the crowd. I was enticed by running. In whatever direction the leadership was going, I was going. So in my city, being a barbarian was a salute. Like, it was a good thing. Or being reckless was a good thing. Not being intelligent was a good thing. So running in these crews in spots that I really didn't fit in, but I'm like, yo, I'm going to be cool with everybody else. In that moment in time, nobody, my mother who never came, did anything in school, my grandmother who didn't really pay attention, my father who wasn't there, no family members, a couple cousins, and the rest of my team was really in the streets. I needed that leadership in that moment. So God was so logical, God all logical, God illogical. My God illogical father came in at a time where God knew it was divine timing, because it was either that. I can look at the rest of my friends who didn't have that leadership, cage or grave or on the way. We lived in the same city, same lifestyle, but my mentorship took me another way. So my Godilogical father, he's not my stepfather, it's not biological, but that bond in spirit was so tight. What he poured into me was so heavy, it had to be a God move. And he's really the person that taught me about God the right way, not God just how I was getting in the church cookie cutter, like the God inside. So with that being said, it was just God is so logical to me, and then he became my Godilogical father.
That's deep. It was a divine intervention type of parenthood.
Sure did.
So
Sure did. Still is to this day.
yeah, because you talk about how you we'll get there, but being as though you still have that relationship, you've shared him with other people that come up under you. Because January is National Mentoring Month, what's one of the most valuable lessons your mentor taught you, either before or after he took on the role of your Godilogical father? So what's one of the most valuable lessons that came before or after you decided, or that you realized he was your Godilogical father?
I can remember one day we're standing in front of his house, and the projects are over here. He lives in a very dilapidated wood strip of houses. His house is not, but everything around him is desolate and really dilapidated, falling down. So all the fiends would come through this road, and all my friends that was hustling still would come through this road. And he looked at him and he looked at me. He said, "Why you don't think people hang around y'all?" And I'm looking at it in his very no holds barred way. He said, "Why you don't think people want to be around you?" And I looked at him. He said, "Think about it, because you dead, son." I said, "Dead?" He said, "Look at y'all. You're dead." I said, "Huh?" He said, "What does a cadaver do? It gives off a smell. It's a stench. It's a funk that you give off. That's why people don't want to be around. That's why our neighborhoods look like this." And I'm looking at him like, "No, I don't stink." He said, "No. If you're spiritually dead, you're physically dead." And he explained to me that the God that you pray to above is also the God within. So you're praying for something, but not realizing there's a bigger connection. And once you realize the God up there is the God in here, then there's nothing that can stop you in the world. I need you to understand that you're God under the covenant of the Most High God. And in that moment, there's nothing, I don't have those same apprehensive movements that a lot of my friends have. I don't have, it's not a faith connection, it's a fact connection that creates a faith connection. When I move, I expect greatness. When I come in a build, I expect it to work my way. I expect to be able to create and build spaces for myself and stand where I need to stand the way that I choose to stand. Because if the God above is the God within, that means I got dominion of everything around me. And that's been one of the probably the foundational principles that's got me as far as I am right now.
With that being said, how do you pay for mentoring other young men? Because that right there, that's something that had to be when you were still in that teenage phase, and you've carried that with you. So how do you pay it forward and mentor other young men?
So when we grew up, they used to say it takes a village to raise a child. And people say that as a cliche, but it's something totally different when a village took care of you. When a man from the village stepped in and said, "You're reckless, son. You need this jewel that I'm gonna give. I have to teach you how to be culturally solid. I have to teach you how to be spiritually solid, not spiritually naive, not being a blind sheep and not contradict." He never told me what religion to be a part of. He just told me what spirit and who I was, whose I was, and how to move. He never put me in a box like that. So as I began to grow, that village that took care of the child, when I got older, it was already instilled in me. After the village takes care of the child has a responsibility to come back and take care of the village that took care of them. So the only way that I felt that I could give him a return on his investment was the reason I went and did 21 years in the Marine Corps, because I was going to just get an ROTC unit and then do for another kid what he did for me, until I realized ROTC unit at Conway, and I got offered the job, is maybe 100 kids, and over time, thousands of kids. But if I do this, then I could touch thousands of kids simultaneously. And everything I do has been trying to pay back or show him a return on his investment in me. Because without him, I couldn't be where I'm at. I know there was a cage or a grave waiting for me. So he was the paradigm shift in my life. And for the rest of my life, I'll work to pour back into the village the same way he poured into me. So right now, on the other side of this wall is a young man that's affectionately my nephew, because his father is my friend, but he's like my brother. You know how that works where we come from. Mm-hmm. So his father's locked up doing 20. He called me and said, "Hey, can you take care of my son while I'm gone?" I have no option, because I know there was a man who took care of me in the absence of my father. So he's on the other side of this wall. Actually, just bought me these headphones. Is his son. Why? Because that's instilled in me to do. So I mentor a lot of young men that I see a lot of me in, and I keep hearing they see a lot of him in me. So it's always to play it forward.
So I like what you said about it takes a village being a cliche, but I also like how you added, not that you said it's a cliche, I like the part that you added, because I never heard that part of the saying before, that it's your responsibility to go back and take care of the village. I'm somebody who self-proclaims that the village raised me. My mom had me at 16 years old. I was everybody's favorite. Very much definitely the community's child. And it took everybody to get me here today. And they still get me, they get me where I'm at right now and keep pressing me forward. But what does it mean to be a mentor to you? Because doing for your friend's son and adopting him as a nephew, that's some type of internal nurturing that I see often, but I wouldn't consider that mentoring. That's just you being who you are or who you feel called to be. What does it mean to be a mentor to you, and how do you do that in ways outside of that particular relationship?
Oh, shoot. So Ali, who's probably be in a minute, I took on a young man at 13 years old who's been with me for the last 7 years. He's in his junior year of college, absolutely doesn't want to be there. But the jewels that Pops poured into me, I pour into him. And I hold him accountable as well as he holds me accountable. I think the thing we miss in mentorship a lot of times is you have to be accountable to somebody and accountable for somebody. So I'm accountable for my mentee. But also at this point, after 7 years, my mentee is at a point where I'm also accountable to him. So the things that I teach him, I have to teach him in action, not the tongue in my mouth, but the tongue in my shoes. So you have to walk this thing out and make manifest the jewels that you give your mentee. So he's my first. I also do after school programs with kids I don't know. So every year I've been doing an after school program augmented to different places. I have another young man who just did 14 years off the hand of one is the hand of all. He didn't even do the crime. So I mentor, teach, pour into him, give him all the jewels that I can as far as being a speaker and well as giving him jewels to maneuver through life outside of the cage. So it's not just him. He's just right here touchable. But everybody else, I've also developed a village platform for Ali to learn how to hone his craft. And we bring other kids in and teach them entrepreneurship, teach them spirituality. Same jewels Pops gave to me, I give to them so much so they even call Pops because Pops will be up here. We'll go to South Carolina. You have to meet him. He has to give you the same. And it's the same stories he's been giving me my whole life. So mentorship, how you mentor a child, it's not always with conversation. Because what I think we don't realize as humans, not just men and women, what we don't realize is you mentor more people with the tongue on your shoe than the one in your mouth. Because a lot of your mentees will never say a word to you, but they're looking for a father and they'll put you in that place without you even knowing. So you never know how many people you mentor. Now in the Marine Corps, I mentored thousands of dudes, men and women. But that's the thing about mentorship. It's not a talk game, it's a walk game.
I just want to clarify for those who might be listening to or watching the replay. The hand of one is the hand of all is a law in the state of South Carolina where if one person gets caught doing a crime and you happen to be in the vehicle or in the vicinity with them or affiliated with them, you all do the time. I personally have a relative who was affected by that law, so I appreciate the work that you're doing with that young man. And I don't know. I definitely think that somebody needs to review the law books in South Carolina because I think a lot of people are negatively impacted by that law as opposed to catching more criminals. You're doing more harm. That's just my personal opinion on that matter.
They actually are. I got a nephew doing 45 years on the hand of one, the hand as the hand of all right now, and he's affectionately a nephew, is just like him. But they're actually reviewing that law, kind of like the conspiracy law, because 45 years is a lot of time to give to. 14 years, 4 days is too much time for some, especially with this guy. He was totally not in the know. He was really giving people a ride, but they're reviewing that law now, and hopefully they'll come to some kind of resolve about it because it's up there with the conspiracy charge. I'll get you out if I can get you.
Yeah,
But we all know the prison industrial complex.
My mom spent her last year of high school in South Carolina after having me. My grandparents moved from Jersey to South Carolina, and somebody taught her that because you knew and you think you're popular and people, let me give you a ride home, and somebody had to say don't get in the car with that person, and she would not have known, and that's something she taught me from a very early age, is be mindful of who you associate yourself with and be cognizant of the laws wherever you travel. So that to me,
Sure.
on a personal level, I'm glad you let me know that they are reviewing that.
Yes.
So tell me, the next question I had lined up was about desiring relationship with your biological dad, but you kind of already addressed that and how you're still open to that. And I want to say to you, from my perspective, as somebody who was not open to that, I think that's commendable that you're open to that and you feel comfortable saying whenever you need something, I'm here for it. I'm learning, I'm getting there, but for a very long time, I didn't even want that person looking in my direction. Like, no. So I definitely think the way you express that and having siblings who've had different dynamics in their relationship with him, just being open to not only having a relationship, but caring for that person, I definitely think it's commendable, and I hope to one day be there in my journey.
Everybody's situation is a little different. So what you might have went through might have been catastrophic. I give no excuse for a man not being there for his kids. However, everybody's situation is different. The liberation of one person might not be the liberation of another person. So if it's best in your best interest to love him, but love him from over there, and that's what keeps your sanity and keeps your peace and keeps your wholeness and your wellness, then it's probably the best interest to love him from over there. Me, to free myself, I had to know that I'm okay. I'm not in the shackle of that anymore. It's cool. I'm cool. My family's straight. My household is immaculate. My career went well. I'm doing what I need to do. And my pops, who raised me, can look at me and say, okay, you did well.
I'm glad you said that. A lot of people growing up did not understand that about me. You know, I never had any hate or disdain. It was just simply that I need you to be over there for me to be sane. And I think a lot of people have this idea that in order to forgive someone or in order to say that you've forgiven someone, that you have to have reconciled and want a relationship. And I think we are definitely in a better space right now today than we were even when I asked you to speak today. But that was what was best for me for that period of time, is to not be in that person's presence.
I think that Sun Tzu said it, like, truth out of season bears no fruit. And some people want you to be in a season that you're not in and give a truth that you're not prepared for. But I promise you, if you do it out of season, it's just that it's not going to bear any fruit. So I think it takes a certain type of intellectual wherewithal to understand yourself enough to say, you know what? I'm good with you over there until I get in the space, because you can't let nobody rob you of your peace. So I think that's so.
True indeed. Last year, I saw a post that stated, behind every deadbeat dad is a deadbeat grandmother. How do you feel about that statement? And was your father's family active in your life?
Every deadbeat dad is a deadbeat grand. I can't agree with that, because I dare not call. I have some people in my family, right, that weren't there for their kids, but their kids grew up with me with my grandmother. So my grandmother took them in, took care of them, fed them, clothed them, treated them just like us, because they're my first cousins. My uncle wasn't there. So they might seem as a deadbeat. Me and his relationship is different. By what the status quo words say, and out of respect for him, I won't say it that way, but I'll keep it 100. By the status quo term of deadbeat, that would also ensue that my grandmother would have to be a deadbeat. But the truth of the matter is, when I left, a couple of them stayed there. She cooks food, made clothes. Everything was good for them. So I can't agree with that statement, because it's an individual's choice. You could have the perfect family and you just be a vagabond, like you just be out here reckless, and that's your choice. But you can't put that on the woman that had him, because she could pour everything into him the right way. But his socialization outside her household might be the thing that turned into a savage. So I can't co-sign that one.
And the second half of that was, did you have an active relationship with your father's family, even though you didn't have an active relationship with him?
None at all. Like when I said I didn't have a father, I didn't. I had a last name in my city that none of my family had. I have my father's. The name on my card or my government stuff is my father's name. I'm the second. My mother's never called me that name in my life. Like never once. When people are like, oh, why is your name Life? I was like, my mother has never. I've never heard her utter that name in my life. So their family had absolutely nothing to do with me. Like nothing. I don't know anybody in their family that ever reached out, card, birth, none of that. So I never had a connection with them. But as I got older, I actively seeked out those people, because you want to know, if nothing else, genetics. You need to know, do we have a history of this, or do we have a history of heart problems? Do we have a history? Is there things that you know that I need to stay away from? What kind of psychological things do we have going on? Because those things do filter down through your bloodline. So you kind of want to know where you get some of the stuff that's in you from. But no, nobody until I reached out. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you do some work in after school programs and things of that nature. And just one of the reasons that I reached out to you for National Mentoring Month and to have this conversation with you today is that I see in your content, and as well as the things you share via your social media, that you are active in the community and you really believe in right now it says life village minded. I think that you don't just say that, you live that. village-minded mentality, and you share that with others, just as you shared certain relationships you have this evening. How did you go about getting into school systems, and how would you like to see the village-minded movement grow?
I actually just went in. Like, I heard about an after-school program. It wasn't a Boys and Girls Club. I think a lot of people think, especially, and it's hard, and I'm not being gender-based, but women have been frontlining for our communities for so long that men often feel threatened walking into those arenas. I just walked in, and I've already been doing the work outside of that. So my resume superseded me. And I just asked, hey, is there any place that I can help out? And like, you're serious? I said, yeah. One after school program just said, I need you to read and do homework with kids. Just read out loud to them so they can see a man reading. And I was like, you don't want me to do anything? No, we just need you to read so they can see a man reading. And that's what I did to augment there. And the more I came in, before I knew it, now I'm not on anybody's paperwork or anything. I got a key to the building, security codes. They let me rearrange the whole building. And we just come in and pour everything that we can pour in as village minders, to me, my mentee, and my manager. And we just go in and do everything that we could. And what happened is the name just kept, it was a ripple effect. And it went through the community. Oh, life's here. And also frequenting the communities that these kids come from. So it's not, you can't just go to the after school program and say, oh, I'm going to do this. You really need to go to the communities where they come from so you can see what their influences are. And then, like, one of the places I was at, for some reason, God saw fit to give me every OG's daughter in my class. So they know who their fathers are. And when you're going in and you're saying, listen, if your father's a gangster and you end up a gangster, your father's a failure. And everybody's like, my father's a failure. It's the whole twist, right? But then you have to go to the community and go, hey, peace, beloved. My name's Life. And they're like, oh, I heard about you. Yeah, I just need you to know that there's principles that I'm teaching in this classroom. And then I need you to understand there's no shots being thrown. But if you're out here, you understand exactly what it is. You won't want your kids to have to go through what you're going through. So not knocking your lifestyle, not co-signing, not. I got a call. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It went out for a moment.
It's not co-signing or not co-signing, but I need you to understand there's no shots being thrown. But I have a responsibility to pour into them the right way. And you get a salute for that, and you keep it pushing. So just going into those places, though, not just going into school, be a part of that community that you're servicing, and then you get a. I'm sorry, that's my coach, but you'll be okay. So that was the thing, just really going into the building. I'm on an interview. I can't stop. Hold on. My apologies, because he's not gonna stop calling for whatever reason. Oh man.
While we have this pause, I just want to share something that I thought was powerful that Life said. Being asked to go into the schools and speak as a man is important, because when I was teaching middle school here in Baltimore, I wanted to start a book club for boys. However, I felt like as a woman, it was not my place to lead that book club, because to me, defeating the purpose of why I wanted to start. So if you are a young man listening to this, an older man listening to this, I think it's definitely important that young boys see men reading books and interacting with text for pleasure and not just for academics. And I'm appreciative that Life mentioned that this evening.
My apologies, I'm back. I also host a speakers call. That's at the same time that this is going on. We were having technical difficulties, but we're back. Can you hear me?
You sound faint this time. Can you turn your volume up or something?
How about now? Hold on one second. How about now?
Better, yes.
We're good. Okay, cool. So yeah, definitely. So that was the buy-in, making sure if you really want to do it, nobody's gonna turn a man away from coming in and saying, "Hey, can I help out?" Now you might have to do the background checks and whatever, and that's necessary because we have to protect our kids in a time such as this. But if you sincerely want to do it's not a lot of chatter that you have to do. When you walk into those rooms, those people are gonna need you there, and they're gonna embrace you if you walk in with the right intent. So. And if first door doesn't embrace you, go to the next door because maybe that wasn't for you.
Indeed. Sometimes people have to acknowledge that the you're not knocking on the right door at the right moment for that opportunity.
Yeah, so foot soldiering is always good.
So can you tell me more about Village Minded? And I see you have your gear on this evening, Expectation of Greatness. You spoke about it, but I want the people to know, what your clothing line represents is bigger than just words. It's a principle. It's a series of principles that you live by.
Sure, day. So I get dressed every day. I promise. I just came from Walmart. I don't particularly get dressed. If I don't have anything on with our brand on, I tend not to even be dressed that day. I must not be leaving the house. At all times, it's important that we represent that brand because we have so much negativity that's already out there. But the EOG, a lot of people are like, oh, ego. No. It's actually the counterbalance to your ego. So EOG means the expectation of greatness. So when Pops and this whole thing, when you go back to foundation, if you want to know the importance of mentorship and my Godilogical father, without even making it fit or whatever, that part where he told me about the God above and the God within really established EOG, the expectation of greatness. If you go to church, if you go anywhere, they're going to say, greater is he that's in me than he that is in the world. In my mind, that means I watch people say this continuously. The same people, for the vast majority of times, if you go down their timeline, they start having these woe is me moments and I can't make it and da-da-da-da. And it's one of those things that ripple effect through a lot of our communities. And I'm not being all inclusive when I speak, but for lack of better terms, because I can't name everybody, but a lot of times you hear them scream this in church on Sundays, and then it's, I can't make it. No. If greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world, then why don't I move with an expectation of greatness? I should expect greatness if I know the God above is the God within. That means I can create the spaces I want to live in. I can put myself in position. I can draw to me what I need and throw back what I don't need. So it's a reminder that at all times, EOG is the counterbalance to ego, because your ego deals with your enemy, your inner me. So if I'm ego, it's me. So that's your inner me or your inner me, because we say inner from the crib. So it's enemy, but EOG is your inner God. And when you tap into that and you're moving with this expectation of greatness, how can't you win? So that's the EOG part. At all times, we just make it a principle. It's your uniform of the day. Buy whatever jeans you want. Buy whatever sneakers you want. Wear whatever shirt you want. At least have on your hat. If you got on a different hat, at least have on your shirt. So it's few and far between, unless I'm in a suit and we're working on that I don't have something that says EOG Village Minded, some sign Labor Nihil or something like that. So always in the brand, and it's important for younger people to see, because they always, oh, life, what you got on, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, yeah, this is expectation of greatness. Now it opens the door for dialogue and conversation. And we need to have those conversations, whether I need to tell you, peace, God, how you doing? What you mean, God? I said, isn't it strange that, and not to be derogatory and not to be offensive, but to be very clear. I said, isn't it strange that we get more offended by somebody calling you God than somebody calling you nigga? Then the door's open for a whole nother conversation. And it's hard to explain to people and biblically say, no, it's right here, and it's right here, and it's right here, and then this is the fact of the situation. So that's one reason for wearing the apparel, so people can see something more in the neighborhoods that we venture into and open the floor for dialogue. The village-minded aspect of things. What is village-minded? It's a mindset. It's a mindset that permeates and goes outside of the realm of what people see on IG. And a lot of times people say, yo, you don't put all this, like you do a lot of stuff. I said, yeah, when you're busy doing it, you ain't got time to post it. We're grinding. Like, so when it comes to village minded, if so, my foundational three. Now we have Sharon Princess Dixon, who was the first female of Village Minded. Now we've taken on, my mentee is actually taking on some mentees who's older than him, but it's weird, but it works. It's the Unity Band. But it's his mentorship. He understands. I tell him all the time, he's like, they older than me, but I said, there's a lot of young men and old boys. Mm-hmm. So his knowledge that he gets from me, he has to pass to them. His things that he learns in college, he comes back and gives to me, and we sit down and build on it. So mentorship is now all angles. So we all know sometimes we're in a teacher capacity, sometimes we're in a student. But the village-minded aspect is more so, it's weird to people. If I say, hey, let's go out to eat, my mind has to already say to myself that I could cover everybody's food. Why? Because you never know the financial status of somebody around you. We move and something that minuscule. I mean, to some dudes came in the camp, it's like, yo, this is weird, I'm out. But if we're village minded, if we can share $1, we'll share $1 million when that comes. But if we all focus on the fact that we all have to eat, either we all eat good or we all don't eat good. Either we're gonna all eat steaks or we're gonna all eat peanut butters and jelly. But we all gonna eat. When we make money, we use the money I make from speaking. We filter that down to Ali to make the album. Ali makes his album. Ali fixes a radio, fixes the engine in his car. Everything is the Black Wall Street concept, if you could understand it in here. So when people see it, we do this in practice, not just with word and let me give you knowledge, but it's finances, it's food, it's clothing. So all the clothes I have, we'll take them to the cleaners, restructure them. You buy expensive jeans, but my mentee's 20 years old. He can't buy expensive jeans. Like, he's still in college. But if I got 40 pairs of True Religion, he should be at the level. We take the jeans, take them to the cleaners, cut it all down, here. But if people will see, and I said that for a reason, people will see, oh, life, y'all wear True Religions. I said, yeah, but I teach my mentee, if you drive to Potomac Mills, we could buy all this expensive trash y'all buying at Levi prices. So I also have to tell you how to be frugal while you're buying the same quality, but let me teach you how to stand up the right way. These jeans feel like just like Levi's when you put them on. But to a young man, when you walk into the neighborhood or when we walk into an after-school program, we're fishermen of men. So you have to use the right bait. These are the things that entice them. But I'm not going to blow a bag on $300 jeans when I can get it for $60 at Potomac Mills. So the village money. So we break down spirituality amongst each other. We break down entrepreneurship. We break down Ali is not rapping to buy a gold chain. Ali is, if I put him on the phone right now, he could tell you, I don't rap to buy a gold chain. I rap, get on, buy a franchise. Before I buy anything, franchise it so it can sustain households. My job is to retire at 29 because life retired at 39. So my son should retire at 19. So we all have this way of moving and thinking till it becomes natural. So the things that we say, like if you go down my IG page, those are just things that we say in regular conversation. It's weird because it's the way we talk. But Village Minded is really a mindset, and it's not a company that's just owned and operated. Anybody can hashtag Village Minded if you're sincerely for the village and the full progression of people. And that's become our culture. We take care of those around us any way that we can.
That's dope. That is so dope. And not just in a, that sounds dope, but the fact that you are pushing that this is a lifestyle and not just a hashtag, that you are not just out here wearing the True Religions, but teaching your mentees how to leverage their finances to get them at the cheaper prices. Because a lot of people, in my particular circumstance, my mom had me young, but she worked hard. And I had friends who were raised by relatives, and they didn't necessarily have their biological parents or any parents, whatever the case may be. They thought we were rich. And I'm like, I don't know why y'all think we're rich every time we go out. She tell me I can't have this and I can't have that. But the nice things that I did have, she was able to get at a discount. We just, for New Year's, we spent New Year's Eve in South Carolina with my grandparents. We surprised them because we normally spend Thanksgiving with them. And that wasn't in the budget this year. One of our favorite things to do is go to the thrift store. Every time I go to the thrift store in South Carolina, I walk out with things with brand new tags, $70, $80, $100 that I get for $5. nice things. We own nice things that we do not pay top dollar for.
It doesn't make sense, and it's hard for people. Like, I get it all. Oh, you waste a lot of money on. I said, nah, not at all. Like, and not at all, at all. So Ali doesn't have a CD online. He's like, yo, I should put it online like everybody else. I said, and give away your art for free. When he was in Elizabeth State University, his financial aid got messed up. He called, said, yo, $3,000 short, I could leave. I said, you got product in your hand. CDs are $10 a piece. So you need to sell about 300 CDs and you'll be in the game, right? And for a summer, he pushed CDs and he paid for his college tuition. So these things, it's like, don't tell me the baby ugly. Tell me what we're gonna do with the ugly baby. And don't call here crying about you want the shoes. You want the shoes, you got to craft, hustle your craft. You want the shoes, when the show comes, here's 20 tickets at $10 a piece. That's 200 tickets. Now, you got to decide if you're going to pay for your studio time or those sneakers. Now, you're going to pay for your studio time or you're going to pay for taking your people out, making sure your moms and your pops got a roof. He just did these type of things off of his talents and his gifts. So it's not an open conversation about, oh, you can be an entrepreneur. No, I'm going to teach you how to put money in your hand, teach you how to make shirts, because we make all these clothes ourselves. So I teach you how to make, so we make this ourselves, and I'll say this open and honest to anybody. We make a t-shirt. My overhead for a t-shirt is $5. I sell them for $25 all day. Ali's in the back room learning how to cut, design, put together, print. He doesn't have to ask for money because he knows when you're down, yo, we got $5. You got $5. T-shirts and vinyl back there. You should go make something happen. So we teaching entrepreneurship, teaching self-dependency. You can't tell me you can't make money. He sees when I got out of the Marine Corps, your finances go down to a third. I got an Uber job, and I drove one time to fill it, but I was doing so much speaking already, prepping. We just rolled right into speaking. But I got an Uber license. I went got a substitute teacher's license, everything. He's like, what you doing? I told you I'm not working for anybody. They've made a way to make entrepreneurship a business. Uber, you're still an entrepreneur. Nobody controls your time. Substitute teaching, you're still an entrepreneur. Nobody controls your time. You're not slave to the job. But you don't have an excuse not to get money. So I had to show him that I'm not going back to hustling. I'm not going kicking in doors. I'm not going robbing. Even when it gets tough, I'll find different ways to generate revenue. And then we started selling so much CDs and speaking engagement. And that's the other aspect of Village Minded. We're going to be the counterbalance. We're going to make, we always say, we're going to make your excuses excuseless. Don't tell me you can't get to the money. I didn't know how to make shirts. I never had a class on it. I sat down and figured it out. I ain't got no big name. I sat down and figured it out. And now at our shows, everybody's got an EOG shirt on. So we can't make excuses. We just make it happen.
So being that you just shared, you've never gone to school for making T-shirts and things of that nature, a conversation that has come up in personal arenas of mine, other college graduates, I'm a graduate of Howard University, we talk about whether or not college is necessary in today's environment. And I heard you say that you pushed Ali to go ahead and continue college, even though that you went into the military, in the Marine Corps specifically. What is your take on college and its usefulness and how to make it beneficial in today's economy, today's lifestyle?
Okay, so it's twofold. The other thing about Ali, the rest of his friends are stick-up kids, like literally bona fide, like, and they play laser tag with bullets. That's what they do. Ali's loyalties will put him in a bad situation. He's not going to be under me 24/7, 365. So that was one deterrent from him being in the streets with them when I had like 2 years left in the Marine Corps. I needed him to be in a place where I know he's focused, and he needed exposure. Now, you're talking to somebody who was in the military. I worked on billion-dollar airplanes, was a subject matter expert in the whole Marine Corps for electronics on airplanes. I taught electronics for 5 years. I taught teachers how to teach electronics. I've never been in a college classroom. I take 18 and 19-year-old men and women, teach them electronics, put them on an airplane, and they verify and check and say this plane is safe to fly in the sky. They've never been to college. I think that the institution of college is primitive. It wasn't even the internet back then. Now, with that being said, be clear. Though it is primitive, if you're a brain surgeon, you might not need OJT. If you're a surgeon, you might not. Everything doesn't require a degree. However, on the counterbalance of that, not having that degree might be the thing that keeps you out of a door. So if it's a key to get in the door, then go get your key. You don't want anybody to have a reason to tell you no. So do I personally believe in it? Do I think Sally Mae is a hustle? Yes. But that's why you get scholarships, grants, and all these things, so you don't end up with a bill from Sally Mae. So when done wrong, you're going to play yourself. But for certain jobs, it's necessary. I wouldn't want you to OJT my heart. I want you to OJT medicine and things like that. But on the flip side of whether I believe in it or not, I know that little piece of paper is going to allow Ali to walk into whatever door he needs to walk into. So if the key is the things you need, go get your key. But there's also great things like cultural things. He'd never been out of his city. He's in a fishbowl. So he went to a HBCU first, and then he transferred into ECU. So he has both, he gets to see both aspects of college. And he's a writer, so he gets this information. He gets to see how this side of the culture thinks and this side of the culture thinks. And now he's a well-balanced person. So it's more to college than what you're getting as far as a degree is concerned. Straight AB kid too, but it's more to college than that. So there's aspects of college that are very much so necessary when you come from places where you might not be culturally solid. But I do think it's a lot of hustle to it, because a lot of times you pay for classes you don't need before they give you the stuff that you do need, because there's money involved. Mm-hmm. But am I going to tell you not to go get the key? Heck no, get the key. Don't let them tell you no, but just do it. The same thing like the True Religion Genius. Just make sure you get all the grants and scholarships you can, so you ain't got to pay them back as much as you would if you went into that situation blind. So. And all things purpose.
That makes sense. That definitely was my experience. I was able to go to a HBCU on scholarship in the first few years and wound up leaving with a small amount of debt compared to several other people. But I definitely think I benefited more from what I was exposed to culturally, just even based on people who live in different parts of the country. Not even touching on the friends and things that I met outside of the U.S. and the things they experienced there, but just different places in different areas of the country, and the music, the education systems, because I was having this conversation with my grandfather earlier about how New Jersey is one of the top states in education, but here it was sitting in classrooms with kids from Detroit in all black neighborhoods and predominantly black schools, and I went to a predominantly white high school, and they knew so much more than me. And it was nothing that I ever felt my school was valued over a black school or anything like that. But my mother moved me to that neighborhood based on metrics. Okay, this is the best performing district in the state, and you told me you want to go to college. Well, I need to move you to the best performing district in the state to increase your chances of going to college, where I felt like we could have stayed in the hood. I'm going to shine wherever I'm at. And I understood why she played the game the way she played the game. But getting to college and seeing the disparities between what's the best, district where I came from compared to places that other people talk bad about, I'm like, they weren't even in their top school where they at, and they know some things. So I definitely feel like college is more valuable for expanding your way of thinking about relationships and people, not necessarily always financial gain and opportunity. And I also think it depends what mindset you have approaching college. Because like you said, you wanted him to be in a safe environment and to learn new things, be exposed to new things, and to be focused. Whereas I went into college treating it like high school part 2. I'm going to class, I'm doing assignments. I'm going to class, I'm doing assignments. I'm not really making friends. I'm not really networking with my professors the way other people did. And those are some of the things that I wish I had known at that time. But I definitely think that when you know differently, you approach a situation differently, and then you get different results.
Sure did. And then some people have to also realize for their kids. So my oldest daughter is in an Ivy League college. Like, she graduates the Naval Academy this year. My youngest daughter just ain't college. And it's okay. She's going to get socialization. She's going to get the experiences. I'm going to make sure she's culturally solid. But we also have to realize everybody's not built for it yet, mentality-wise. And we have to be open and honest enough with ourselves to say, you know what, maybe you should go to a trade school. Because there's nothing wrong with being a cosmetologist. There's nothing wrong with being a barber. There's nothing wrong with being a mechanic. It's nothing. You can create your own business in your own space, because in this generation, even the thought process of the millennial, and I use that term because that's the term we understand, to work anywhere to 65 is unheard of. They're not going to stay on a job till 65 straight. They're thinking, yeah, you know how many ways I can make money? I'm not going to do that. So the whole economy system is different. My whole library is in my phone. I got a computer in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? So how do we still operate off of this primitive education system? Well, it's big business. So we just have to have the freedom to do it case by case.
I think that with it,
but do something.
With it being big business, and I think with it being marketed socially the way it has over time. My sister's 16, she'll be 17 in March, and she was asking me questions about college the other day, and I'm telling her she wants to do, I majored in business management, and she's telling me she wants to major in business management, and I'm like, why? Oh, because this person and that person said so, and because I want to have this kind of business, and I want to understand. I said, listen, I did that. I wanted to have my own fashion empire. I painted this. I'm an artist. You know, I write, do all types of things. And I went for business management because at the time that I was entering college, Wesley Snipes was in the news going to jail for tax evasion because his accountant didn't pay his taxes. And I said, okay, I need to understand business so nobody can ever take advantage of me. I'm already good as far as talent-wise. This was my personal choice to go for business management. I said, nobody made me go for business management. My mother told me not to go to college. She said, go to California and be an actress. I told her she was crazy. And I never wanted to be an actress, so I told her she was crazy for that. But sometimes I think about it like, you know what, she might have been on to something. So I'm telling my sister, as someone who's going to college, because my mother did not, my father did not, her father did not, you don't need to do that. I said, you can make money doing makeup. I've been telling you this for the past year. You do my makeup. I like it. You do what I ask you to do. You don't just do what you want to do. I said, I like to look like myself, but just a little bit, and you do a good job, and I feel nice, and you do your friends' makeup. I said, why don't you make yourself an Instagram page, and you just show before and after what you do for people, and then let people know your practice. So when she's telling me last week, I just want to make money, I'm telling you, I already told you how to make money. You don't need a degree in business management to make money. I'm telling her, you can minor in business. You want to go. She's an even better artist than I am. Go for art, learn about other artists, become a better artist, and minor in business management. And she just was not really receptive to it. I'm like, man, like these kids are brainwashed. So in the system of things, and I'm not saying that college is not necessary, because I very much so enjoyed my time at Howard University and learned so many things, both in and outside the classroom. But I think the hustle of making money off people by having them think that college is the answer is so ingrained societally that it's hard. And I'm telling this kid, like, you know 10 times more about anything I know about this phone, and you like doing makeup. Not just you good at it, but you enjoy doing this. You want to make money, that's where you do it. You like art, oh, I don't have money for art supplies. I'm like, okay, use that person's makeup to do their face because it's better for them hygienically. They know that the materials have only touched their face. They already know it matches their complexion because they bought it for themselves. Use what they have to do their makeup. Whatever money you make from them, you go invest in your craft and buy more.
Go buy your own.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was really frustrated, and she was frustrated. She's like, oh, you're not helping. So we having this conversation being frustrated with each other because I think I was a super nerd. So she was expecting me to like tell her, yes, go to college and do it this way and major in what I majored in. And I'm like, girl, don't go. So she's expecting one thing, and I'm trying to tell her, like, I've been there, I've done that. You don't have to do that. It's a lot.
CEO Matty J. Brother CEO Matty J, no college, driving a Tesla, no business like the back of his hand. It's all available for us. So if you want to grind and get through it, just grind it. Like a trade is the way to go these days. It's hurtful. My daughter's friends. Now, my daughter going to the Naval Academy. She'll go in the military as an officer. It's set, and the Naval Academy doesn't let you move without having a job. So that was to line her up for the long run. And that happened off a poem I wrote, but that's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, in this society, it's so easy to be whatever you want to be, and people pay for it. It is the trade is the way to go. Now, if you're gonna be a heart surgeon, go. If you're gonna be something like that, but I watch a lot of people waste a lot of talent, and I'm going, do you know I really don't know how to make t-shirts? Like, I really fold it in half, put a crease down it just because it makes sense. Line it with a ruler so all of them look exactly the same. I'm sure there's a way to do it better. There's probably laser pointers and all that. I said, but my common sense, I know what it's supposed to look like, and we go with it, and everything looks exactly the same. And we generate a lot of revenue doing that. So, yeah, definitely. I hope people follow their talents, dreams, and gifts. I actually gave this class today. It's funny you said that. I gave this class today with my after-school program because it's impoverished neighborhoods, a lot of foster kids, and they're talking about college. I'm like, how you going to pay for it? So I have a dream scholarship. Everybody writes it. We critique it sentence by sentence. We show we're doing writing skills, language arts, making sure that when you send these things in, that $1,500 you're going to get for a scholarship. And right after that, to the next scholarship. Right after that, I was like, what do you want to do? And they come with these grandiose jobs. I said, how many? Now, raise your hand for the people that said that because they want to make money. I said, now let me ask you a question. What do you love to do? What are you good at? Oh, I'm good at this. Why don't you take what you love to do? And if you want to go to college, find jobs within that that's going to be lucrative. Because if you love to do a thing, you're not going to just up and quit on it. But it's hurtful to work 40 hours of your life every week on something that you hate doing. And we broke it down hour for hour. And it was a great class and conversation. It's kind of funny we having it now. But I think that's what people have to not be scared. I didn't walk out of here and say, I'm just going to be a speaker and it's going to happen. I had to go work to do it. I was sleeping in the back of my van. I was putting myself in position and just with every opportunity, making sure that I spoke like I was going to die afterwards. Like, I'm going to give you everything I got right now. And next thing I know, I'm in Virginia Tech. Like, what just happened? I don't even watch sports. How am I speaking to a basketball team? That's really happening.
I think that
that's when I came.
Having those conversations you had with those young people and just having the wherewithal to turn scholarship essay writing into a lesson in itself, because you're still hitting those key points and those common core skills, but now it's useful for them. What I shared with my sister is I went to school for business management. I left there to become a teacher, and then I worked in mental health. When I started out wanting to have a fashion empire. That was my goal. I was going to go to college and major in business so I could leave with a fashion empire. And she's like, yeah, how did that happen? Because I lost track of what I wanted, trying to avoid some circumstances that didn't even belong to me. They belong to somebody else. And in my time in the classroom, I liked teaching. I had people telling me that I was going to be a teacher my entire life, and I thought they were crazy because I really love interacting with other people, especially kids, and teaching them new things. But I did not like the politics of education. So what I did is exactly what you're saying to that you share with your after school kids. I share with my students. Oh, you want to be an athlete? Why? Well, what are you good at? Well, how can we capitalize on that right now? Oh, you are my troublemaker? No, you have leadership skills, and I need you to lead the reading circle for today. And just showing the potential that whatever it is that they already possess can be applied in a different way, in a productive way that they may not have seen. One of the biggest things that I found valuable in my experience, not just as a college student or as an educator, but just as a consumer, I like to watch TV. A lot of people cut out TV and they don't watch TV. I like to watch TV because I find TV to be educational. And it used to be a show on Saturdays here in Baltimore that taught kids about jobs in the entertainment industry. So not being an actor, but what it's like to be the stunt person, what it's like to be the engineers in charge of the lights, how
Cameraman,
animators, and a lot of these behind the scenes jobs. Because if I had known it existed, I definitely would have applied for a job as an animator at Disney or Nickelodeon, because that's what I did. I watched cartoons and I drew. And then I was like, well, I'm going to draw my own cartoons. I liked writing. I made stories. I was able to do art. I'm going to draw my own cartoons. And nobody in my immediate scope as a child who knew those things about me knew any way to communicate that to me, that you can make that happen doing this. Or here's a way you can do that. Or don't major in business, major in animation. And to be honest, at the time that I went to school, that was something new. It wasn't a solid major even at that time, because it was still a new and developing field. So I definitely think that we have the power to take educational experiences into our own hands and not just feed into the capitalistic way that people go about it. Social media management wasn't a major when I was in college because social media was still new. And now there are people getting degrees in this. It's like, why you need a degree in what you do every day? They just made that up last week.
Exactly.
They teaching you something they made up last week.
Exactly.
When you could be out here doing it and
they really learn from you. Get to the bag.
But I don't want to monopolize your time any further. I appreciate you sharing with me and vibing with me this evening. If there's anything else that you would like to share with the people or share with me, feel free to do so. Any last remarks or anything else that your pops taught you that you would like to share or leave me with this last Thursday of National Mentoring Month?
One of the things I think that was most important was work ethic. There was a day that I was outside playing around, they screaming, "Stop playing, son!" And I'm like, "Pops, practice over." He's like, "Practice over? Stop playing, son!" I said, "Pops, practice over." He throws a chair out of the podium, out of the portable, and I dodge it. I'm like, "Pops, practice over." He said, "Son, practice is never over." I'm thinking he's talking about ROTC. He's talking about in life. So when you were talking about these people chasing their dreams, I think people hold on their dreams for too long. It takes 1 second to dream, and then you got to use the other 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds hustling your dreams into reality. So I also do poetry, and that's my fusion of motivational speaking and poetry. There's a fusion there. And I would like to leave you with a piece for the dreamers, if that's okay.
Cool by me.
So if they're watching this in the playback, and prayerfully they will, don't get discouraged about how much work it's going to take, but understand it's going to take work. And in this generation, a lot of times, some of the greats turn back because they're scared of that work. So we get lost in cliches. And I've been telling the dreamers this. So for the dreamers, I dare you to dream. And then pursue the things that you want to do as if there's no plan B, there's no contingency for failure in here. So you can keep them weak cliches about blood, sweat, and tears unless you fully prepared to put your nose to the grindstone where blood floods nostrils, rips cartilage, and you left to the bare bones of this thing, where the only thing left standing is you, God, and your dreams. And he's asking, what are you going to do? This ain't go hard or go home. This is go harder. There ain't no home to go to. Ain't nothing sweet about dreaming. Can't sugarcoat it for you. So before you start talking to me about a dream, the question I need you to answer for me is, how much are you willing to go through to get it? See, if faith without work is dead, so is your dreams without commitment, time, dedication, and a sincere tenacity to go out there and get it, because ain't nobody going to give you nothing. There's no handouts here. No such thing as free lunches. So if you ain't prepared to put your hand to the plow and get it off the sweat of your brow, then you need not apply in a place where dreams will allow you to persevere. Ain't no fruit for your labor if you ain't prepared to toil in the field. Be clear. When you start talking about dream chasing, you got to move with an expectation of greatness. Ain't no sitting around waiting for things to happen. If it's going to happen, you're going to have to be the one that makes it. Fight for what you want. Your dreams require you to take them. Listen, nobody's ever made it to their dreams by sleeping, because in this battlefield where dreams lie, it's either you eat or be eaten, and nobody else can dream for you, but you can bet the house on this. If you don't grind, you will not eat. Not here. Because around here, there's no such thing as free lunches. So I appreciate you. Thank you for the work that you do. And thank you for sharing your platform. And we'll be around anytime you need anything.
Thank you. And with that being said, I want to remind
you very much so welcome.
Follow Life Speaks Life on Instagram and get a glimpse into everything he does with Village Minded Music, and just everything that he does for his local community. If you are new listening to the discussion room, you can follow me, Miss Reed, at DaaamnDaddy, and that's DAAMN Daddy on all social media, DaaamnDaddy.com. And I just thank you all for joining us this evening.